Hey, everybody, and welcome to the podcast Autism Confidential, the podcast of the National Council on Severe Autism. I am Jill Escher. I'm the president of NCSA, and I am your happy host today. And I'm happy because we have a happy topic. And this is actually something that someone had sent in some months ago, suggesting something about traveling with children and adults with severe autism. And I'm happy to finally get to this topic, and I think at a nice time because we are on the edge of approaching summer, and a lot of you are thinking about summer plans, or maybe dreading summer plans, or maybe kind of going back and forth with various levels of trauma, thinking about what you're going to do. But I have two people today that I think can really help kind of help you think through some of the possibilities for you and your family. They are, number one, we have Lara Sandora, who is an autism mom like me in the San Francisco Bay Area. Hello, Lara.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And Lara has had a very intense interest in traveling with autism for many years. She became a travel blogger, blogging about traveling with autism and special needs. And believe me, I will post all of this in our show notes. Peace of Mind Travel, is that it?
The Peace of Mind Retreat.
The Peace of Mind Retreat, P-I-E-C-E, peace. And she is also went so far as becoming the owner of a vacation rental home, which she will tell you about. But we're going to go through some kind of tips and tricks for traveling with our children with our challenges. And then second, we are super lucky. We have with us today, boy, I just had here it is. Pernell Wint, and I'm going to get his title right. He's the business development manager for Northern California for Unique Vacations, Inc. And that's who runs, I'm going to hold up his business card here, so for you on video can see it, for Sandals and Beaches Resorts, which are in the Caribbean. And I will show for those of you who can see, look, ooh, ah. I'm showing, for those of you on audio, I'm showing a beautiful picture of a beautiful beach, bluest waters you ever saw, whitest sand you ever saw. Hi, Pernell.
Hi, thank you so much, Jill. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to speaking with all of you. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So just to be abundantly clear here, I just met Pernell last week and I was super impressed with him. And I was kind of in awe of the program. They're not sponsors of this podcast. There's no financial exchange here, right? We're not promoting anything. This is purely for information. And I hope we all get some sort of level of inspiration out of it. So I'm going to ask Pernell, you can kind of hide for a little while. I'm going to start off with Lara here. So Lara, let's be real. Okay. I want to start off like really raw and real here. I'm not going to, sugarcoat this. So I have two kids with severe autism. My daughter, Sophie, loves traveling, and you'll put her on a plane. She's happy as a clam. She'll go anywhere. She'll do anything. My son, Johnny, oh my God, every moment is, fighting a fire. Every moment is a panic. Every moment is, will he melt down? Will he bolt? Will he throw something on the plane and hurt somebody? Like, trauma. So I want to start off with the observation that for a lot of our families, traveling is a freaking nightmare. Yes, no, what do you say to that? Am I crazy?
No, I agree. And so that's, I think, why I have such an intense interest in it is actually, so my husband and I are both educators. And so we, before kids, had a schedule in which we traveled for weeks at a time in the summer and weeks at a time in the winter. And so our understanding of life was that travel was an important part of it. Mm-hmm. And when we had kids, we thought we're just going to figure out how to travel with kids. And then we had a kid with autism and we had to rethink that again. And so that, I think, is the biggest, I don't know if we call it a tip or a trick, but the sort of biggest premise for attempting autism travel, I think, is finding the fit for your family, whatever that looks like. So, for example, is the part of travel that you want to get a change of scene, but you really can't sacrifice your bedtime routine? So then figure out what those day trips are that rejuvenate you and your family, and then you can be home in time for bedtime and not throw that out the window, right? So that's just one example. Or if the destination is something that has something so appealing, whether that's snow or water or Disney or whatever it is that is so appealing to your person with autism, maybe that's enough to overcome whatever those challenges are. So it can look different. It can change. What travel looks like is going to change. And so I think it's really about sort of focusing in on what the most fulfilling parts of it are, what the goal is for your family with travel, and then going with that. Another solution that our family has used is dividing our family for travel, which I know, Jill, you've done that as well,
Divide
right?
and conquer all the
Divide
time.
and conquer, right? So take one kid someplace and go someplace else with the other kid, or leave the other kid, so that's another sort of approach for us as a family unit to not change the kind of travel that we want our neurotypical son to have access to, is that we travel with him solo, right? So there are some other things that it's just about sort of reframing that landscape of travel, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into more of these tips and tricks. So, when I plan a trip with my son, and I will admit, I don't think I've traveled with him in any real sense since 2019, because of the overwhelming challenges involved, which are just too much for little old me. Not that he doesn't get to do things, he does, but as a family, it's not physically possible. But I want to go through some of the things that families do, and I'd like to get your comments on them, your thoughts about them. There are some programs, for example, where people can practice, boarding a plane, being on an airplane. Some airports, for example, have offered that. And I know that can be helpful to a degree, so that transition can be much easier. That's one. Another, I'm going to throw out a couple. Another one is, and this is very common, medicate the kid. If you're going to put a kid on a 5-hour flight to Hawaii, and by the way, we all know that's Oahu behind you, and that you're not really there. One of my favorite places, so I recognize it. If you're going to board that 5-hour flight from California to Hawaii, you're bringing along some extra meds, and I want to hear your thoughts about that. Some people, and the third one I want to bring up, and then we'll talk more later, getting help on the other end, getting other people, getting aides, getting assistance at the destination. So can you talk about your thoughts about all those?
So those are actually, we have a whole other bag of tricks that we've dipped into. Those are not three things that we've tried a lot, with the exception of the medication. We've definitely tried the medication, and that backfired fully, because what was supposed to calm him down and knock him out did not do that, and instead he went the other direction entirely. So my personal experience with the medication was not the greatest. I will say, my son is a very physical kid. And so the idea of like the social stories, or the sort of walking through the mock setup of the how it might feel when you're going to really board a plane for real, that's not been something that we have focused on. Although I do know that those resources are definitely helpful for some families. And I forget what the third thing you said was.
Oh, see, it was the practicing, the drugs, and then finding help on the other end.
Help on the other side. Yeah. So the help on the other side, my strategy on that is bring the help. So we have traveled with some of our ABA staff. We have arranged to meet extended family members and things like that in different locations. So that's sort of our strategy on that. But I do know that there are an increasing number of organizations that are providing supports to either travel with or meet folks at destinations, which I think is if your individual is flexible enough to be able to work with someone new, then I think that could be a really helpful direction to go. Our strategy is that the ramp up time, like if we're going someplace for a week or 10 days, it takes my son sometimes 5 or 6 days to get used to somebody. So for us, it makes much more sense to either bring someone or have someone that we know meet us there. So.
Yeah. Another tip and trick has to do with the TSA.
Mhm.
I've known families who've contacted TSA before their trip, and they were basically escorted through security and escorted to the gate. Have you had any experience with that?
Absolutely. That is one of my top tips, because we stumbled into it years ago by accident, because my son was fairly young and he was obsessed with a toy that was filled with liquid, and it was unlabeled ounces. Like it was just like this water tube that was very soothing, but it had no label on it. And so I actually called TSA and said, I have this unlabeled liquid I need to bring on the plane. I can't get it out of his hands. Like we need to travel with this. And they said, oh, we have this whole program that will support you, that's called TSA Cares. And so now the application is actually pretty quick online. We just traveled a few weeks ago, maybe 5
So
to
if people
7 days.
Google TSA Cares, it'll pop up.
Yeah. So it's a quick application. I think I filled out the initial request, and within 24 hours had heard from both the airports in both directions. And they said, here's the number to call. And they had someone come out and meet us, take us through. We travel with a lot of devices, right? Because we used technology for communication. We travel with a lot of medical liquids now, and still some tubes of water and other sort of toy type soothing things that have liquids in them. So, and it does, they're very thorough with them. They test everything, but they don't make him wait. They'll let him go through with one of the adults and then test the liquids separately. So it's been a pretty good support for us in terms of air travel, certainly.
Okay, more tips and tricks.
I think related to that is we try very hard to travel with carry-ons only for air travel. It's just one of those things where it can just add that layer. The bags get lost and you have to wait for the carousel for them to come out. It just adds time at a point in travel when we've used up our bank of ability to handle things. And so adding even 10, 15, 20 minutes at the end of the trip with that baggage claim is usually enough to put us over the edge. So we go with carry-ons whenever possible. The other thing that we do is we do pre-boarding with the airlines, and whoever is with my son, as we get on the plane, we introduce him and say, we'll be in this row, this seat, and just let him know, like, he likes to press the flight attendant button. So if you see a light in our row, that's why. So we just lead with it up front. Usually, if you pre-board, all the flight staff is right there at the front of the plane. So we just say it nice and loud right when we get on the plane and let them all know at once, and just sort of lead with that. And I think that sort of eases the situation for everyone, in terms of them knowing that. And back to the luggage for a second, I think that there's some folks out there that are going, oh my gosh, I can't possibly go X, Y, or Z with only carry-on luggage. In those situations, we have shipped things to meet us at the location, again, so that we know that it's there, and then we don't have to take it with us, and we don't have to have that it's waiting for us. So that's a piece of that as well.
Great. Any others, or I'll throw you a few more questions.
I will, a couple other little ones. Again, there is something I could probably go grab one. It's called a door monkey. So it is basically a clip that can go on, I would say 90% of the doors that we've encountered in our travels. And it kind of latches the door closed, which is helpful. We've modified his door at home, so we can't obviously take the modified door with us. So the door monkey provides a little bit of support in terms of him not getting out and wandering around a rented space or an unfamiliar space. So that's something, it's very easy to pack. It's very small, and it's probably worked in about 90% of the doors that we've encountered, which has been helpful.
Interesting. Haven't heard of that. What about financial tips? Is there any way for, families who, are already stretched for obvious reasons, right? But who really, really, could use a break. Do you have any tips for that, if there's any way to get subsidies or any kind of low cost ways to travel? What do you think?
Yeah, that's, I think, I don't know of any specific programs. I'll start with that, but I will say that I think it depends on, again, what that fit looks like for your family, like what those priorities are. So a lot of the cost of travel can be in the accommodations, right? So if you're able to come up with either family or friends or house swaps or things like that to take care of the accommodations piece, that can be a piece of the puzzle. Or a series of day trips as a staycation, so that you're getting that sort of change and different input, but also, again, maybe keeping your bedtime routine, if that's something that is helpful, to not have too much of a change in routine at night. And there's something to be said for trying to go to destinations off
Season.
Yeah. Because everything sort of decompresses, right? You're going to have less crowded flights, cheaper accommodations, and things like that. So, and not really cost, but certainly access. I think more and more travel destinations are getting better at providing different supports and services and access and things like that to individuals with autism and their families. And so, my older son is near adulthood at this point. So he's in the caregiver category in our family right now. But when they were both young, I think there was definitely a sense of, there's a lot of challenges that come with this diagnosis in our family. And also, by the way, we get to go to this entire place an hour before it opens, and nobody's there, right? So looking for organizations and locations that have that kind of opportunity, I think, is really helpful. Because it can mean that you spend one good hour at a place, and maybe you've paid full price to go, but you're enjoying it, as opposed to paying that price and being there, in a crowded, full location, and not being able to enjoy it as much.
Well, let me ask you a bit about, kind of autism specific travel. Obviously, I'm about to interview somebody who offers autism specific programming, right, at some resorts, which is amazing. The one we hear about all the time are these Disney cruises, right? Or no, it's not Disney cruises. I'm sorry. It's called Autism on the Seas.
Yes.
Sorry. You can tell how often I cruise, which is never. I don't know anything about cruising. I don't know if you've been on that, or if you have anything to say about that or other programs that are autism specific.
Yeah, I think that again goes back to like what works for your family, right? So I grew up camping, for example. That's not something that I've been able to do in our autism family, just because I have a runner, and I can only imagine where he would end up if we zip up that tent, and I don't know where he would go. So there are some things that maybe fit the family I grew up with that doesn't work in the family I'm raising. But there's also this idea that like we're not a cruise family either. We're actually not a resort family. Sorry, Pernell. Like that's like we are. That's like we tend to prefer to be kind of in a quieter setting, which is why, as you mentioned, we ended up choosing to purchase a rental home that we rent to other families.
And where is that home?
That home is on not this island behind me, but on the Big Island.
On the Big Island. Yeah.
Yes. And that's and that was after years of sort of realizing that, it's really for us about the location, and it needed to be warm, it needed to have water. Like we just kept after many small trips. I tell people all the time, I feel like we've been to every single beach town on the entire coast of California. And so it's not like we experimented a lot to understand like what the parameters are that we're going to make that work for us. And so I think if you're a cruising family, go with Autism on the Seas. Like if you really like if your autistic individual is really into something that is in a particular country, there are these programs that will support international travel. Like there's all kinds of great programs out there. My kid's not a museum kid. Like it would not be worth anyone's time or trouble to take him someplace where the major activity was looking at museums. But I
can't even imagine it. Right?
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine it either. But like there are folks and families of all sorts of shapes, and some kids are and adults are very into, certain types of things that are found in museums or historic homes or whatever. And if so I think it's fantastic that there's options that support families in doing that. But again, that comes back to your family and like what your sort of structures and supports are that you're looking for to make that fit in your family.
So your house on the Big Island, do you rent it out to special needs families? Do you have a business around that at all? Yeah,
we do. We rent it to anyone, and with a special emphasis on families like ours that need a place. And we have a couple of folks that we know rent routinely because it is a good fit for their kids as well. So, but yes, it's rentable to anybody. But we do definitely, we chose it and designed it in a way that it would be a good fit for families like ours.
That's great. Let's put something in the show notes so people can find you if they're
Absolutely,
I really want to go to you're near Kona, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really want to go to the Kona area, the Big Island. You know somebody there. I've spent a lot of time there, so I probably know where it is. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Well, Lara, thank you so much. Stay on if you don't mind. I think we're going to round back with you at the end. Pernell, I'd love to bring you back on, and we will talk about beaches. Beaches. Right. Here it is, people.
Yeah.
So pretty. So I am I'm this California person, and I just have never been to the Caribbean. It's sort of off my mental map. I know it on the map. I can kind of picture the chain of islands extending down right towards South America. I can kind of name a lot of them. But beyond that, I am completely not knowledgeable because we in California, we tend to head west instead of heading east when it comes to islands. But I think that a lot of our East Coast listeners will be like, dumb Jill, duh. I've heard of all those places. Duh, you're so stupid. But I'm wondering if you can start off just sort of acclimating us, telling us a little bit about the resorts. I know Sandals is for couples. Right. So that's not our audience, but Sandals and Beaches, which are all part of the same company, Beaches is for families. So maybe you can just sort of tell us about where these resorts are, and then maybe tell us a little bit about what they're like.
Okay, all right, perfect. Jill, once more, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed Lara's presentation. I was listening in, and I'm like, man, wow. But let me, before I begin, IBCCES. That's who certified Sandals and Beaches. As a matter of fact, certified Beaches Resort, as the first hotel to be certified as an autism specialist. That's the International Board of Credentialing and Continuing Education Standard. And I don't know if you saw the autism travel survey that they did. So they surveyed 1,000 parents, with children on the spectrum. And the first question that they asked, do you currently take vacation as a family? And 87% says no. The second question they ask is, would you become more inclined if autism certified options were available? 93% says yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final question was, are you satisfied with the current travel options for family with autism? And 89% says no. And that's where Beaches Resort came in. I'm telling you, we are excited because we are the first hotel company that got certification or certified as an autism specialist location. So to answer to your question, where are we located? As I said at the Autism Forum last week or so, for those who are listening on this podcast, if you pick up my accent, you'll know that I'm from the island. I'm from Jamaica, and that is where it all started. Sandals is the parent company, and the history about Sandals Resort, we're now going in 42 years. After it's a honeymoon couples location, but after the couples started to travel and start to extend their family, having children, our chairman and founder wanted to find a way to bring the entire family back outside of Sandals. So hence the Beaches brand was developed. And that is where you can now travel as a single, you can travel as a couple, and you can travel with the entire family, which includes children. We have approximately 19 resorts, but 3 of the 19 are our Beaches Resort brand. 2 of the Beaches Resorts are located in Jamaica, 1 in the Ochores area. That's so if you fly into Montego Bay, Jamaica, that's MBJ is the gateway code. It would be about an hour and a half going to the Ochores area. And then the other resort, Beaches Resort that we have is on the west end of the island in Jamaica, which is in the Negril area. And then our best Beaches Resort that we have, and the largest, is in Turks and Caicos. So you have Beaches Ochores in Jamaica, Beaches Negril in Jamaica, and Beaches Turks and Caicos in the Turks and Caicos Island. So that is where our Beaches Resort. And one of the things, Jill, a lot of our travel agents have always been asking for more beaches. So we have some new resorts coming on stream. We're going to be opening a 3rd Beaches Resort in Jamaica. That's coming in the future. And also we're going into a different island. We're going into St. Vincent and the Grenadine. So that's going to make us 5 Beaches Resort, so.
Wow.
So geographically, that is where we're only in the Caribbean. That's where we are.
Got it.
For our Beaches Resort.
Got it. Wow, that's excellent. This is great. So describe one of the resorts for me. You mentioned the one in Turks and Caicos. Caicos, as being kind of particularly, large or nice. Can you describe what they're like? Like what are the facilities there?
Definitely. There is a tagline that we promote when it comes to Beaches Resorts, that we weren't the one who invented the all-inclusive concept. But may I tell you, we perfected it. So to start, all of our Beaches Resorts are all-inclusive. So all your meals, your drinks, your water sports, entertainment, transfers from the airport to the resort and back to the airport. Every single thing. If you are a certified diver, diving is included. You can snorkel, glass bottom boat ride, the kids camp, you know, and then we're gonna get closer now and talk about the children who are on the spectrum. You can sign your children into the kids camp each day, so you don't have to be worried that they're gonna escape or anything like that. You know, our resorts are very, very safe, so you'll find the kids camp. Also, we are in partnership with the Sesame Street characters, so you'll see all the characters throughout the resort. And may I tell you that Julia,
the 4-year-old Muppet with autism.
Yes. We've all.
Here she is, awesome. Right there at your resort.
Excellent.
Picture.
So you'll see Julia and Cookie Monsters and all of that throughout our resorts, and they do have their various parades. They tuck in with Cookie Monster and or the Sesame Street characters, the reading roadshow. All of those are things that we do. So the overview of Beaches Resort is that we are an all-inclusive complex, an all-inclusive brand that takes care of every single thing. So if you are a parent looking to travel to Beaches Resort, the first thing that I would suggest you either reach out to me, you know, engage one of our travel professionals who is a certified beaches specialist to start to look exactly what the makeup is of your family, what the age range for the children, and then we will, you know, guide you through exactly the ideal resort for you. All of our beaches resorts as well, we have our Pirates Island water park. So
I was just about to mention that because my daughter would freaking love that.
Yes, so all of our beaches resorts, you have the water park with the lazy river, the splash deck, the water slide, the surf simulators, and all of these events and activities. I'm telling you, if your child or children is on the spectrum, we will make sure that they enjoy these activities, because you can also, you know, align yourself with the beach buddy.
Here's a picture. There you go. There's a picture. If you're watching on YouTube. Okay. So what about the buddy? Go ahead. Sorry to mean to cut you off.
So we've introduced the one-on-one, the beach buddy. So that's something that you know, if your child needs additional support, you know, we will assign your child a buddy, a partnership program.
Wow.
At least, you know, your
and
child
they're trained, right?
Listen, all of and I'm pleased to tell you that I was also certified through IBCCEX as a certified specialist. All of our resort staff are trained and certified, and we have to be recertified. Beaches Resort as well was the first resort that was recertified as an autism center. So that's something that we have to continue to train our staff, to make sure that our staff are certified and recertified. So they are certified. Even if you're taking a younger child, you can utilize the nanny service. So let us say if the adults, the family, the couple want to go for a romantic evening, to dine without the children, you can utilize the nanny service. It comes with an additional cost for the nanny service, but that's something as well that you can do. So I'm telling you, our beaches brand has been very popular, you know, and then no more than ever, you find a lot of families with children on the spectrum. They are taking advantage of the autism centers.
So what was it that inspired the Beaches Resorts to take on this autism project? Was it a personal connection in the executive team? Was it something else? What
definitely. Yeah, well, that's an absolutely amazing question. The first thing, you know, Sandoz was the original brand, and when the couple started to come in and to celebrate their honeymoon and all of that, and start to extend and having their children, that was the first thing that our chairman wanted to find a way to bring back the entire family. So the Beaches brand was developed. Now, to answer to your question, Beaches is a family-owned company, you know, and nothing is more important than family. So we understand that we have to not only take care of the couples, not taking care of the extended family, but also special needs. So that is where we come to the table, because it's not a government-owned entity, it's a family-owned. So we take the family aspect of travel to the table. So that is how the Beaches brand was developed. And I can tell you, while I don't have all the definitive information in terms of staff members or executive teams that may have children on the spectrum, we want to make sure that we cover every single aspect of family travel. And special needs is something important that we take into consideration.
All right, so now I have to ask you this question.
Yes.
Not that you would know, because you're here in California, you're not over there in the islands. So I'm sure that you're the amount of your knowledge is somewhat limited, but
well, let me pause you a little bit. I've been with Sandals and Beaches Resorts for 32 years.
Oh my goodness, you don't look old.
I worked on resort.
15
years. I worked at the call center for Sandals and Beaches Resort for 16 years, and I relocated here to California 5 years ago. So I should be able to answer your question.
Okay, I stand very corrected. Thank you.
No, you're good. You're good.
But have things gone wrong? I mean, listen, I speak as the mother of a son who could easily cause some mischief, right, at a resort. Have things gone wrong? I mean, are things such that if there is an emergency, it's easily dealt with, or you know, is the road to autism family heaven, you know, paved with some potholes? Like, give me some stories, if you will, of things that you've dealt with.
Yes, listen, the history of Sandals and Beaches Resort, I'm not saying that the company is perfect, but I can tell you we have put every single thing in place to make sure that our dining aspect is flawless. We have some 16 restaurants per resort. So that's one of the first things that we have, a culinary concierge desk. So if your child who is on the spectrum is coming with a special need in terms of any food allergy, that's the first thing that we would recommend that you reach out to the the culinary concierge team, so at least they can make sure that everything is in place. When it comes to the kids camp, when it comes to all of the family with children on the spectrum, we also have a separate department wherein we'll ask you to submit all the details, every single information that we need to know, the level of your child or children on the spectrum. So at least we can put everything in place to make sure that, number one, your child or children, they're safe. We want to make sure that we provide all the necessary things. And because the staff are well trained, there's no need to worry. I've been with the company now for over 32 years, and I've never heard of any child or children on the spectrum who may have wandered away. The system that we have, it is meticulous, it is very safe, they're well trained. So you have to sign your child or children into the camp. So there's a tight registration process if you're taking your children there. One of the parents with identification has to sign the child in, and someone with identification has to pick the child up. So we've never had anything that has really raised an alarm wherein people went to our resorts and a lot of mishappening or anything like that. So,
and there's medical care, like there's a doctor associated.
We have a nurses station. We have a nurses station on all of our beaches resorts. We have a doctor on call just in case there is any emergencies. So we are extremely careful. Now, I've been to the resort. That's one of my responsibility, to visit all the resort to do site inspection. When we go to the kids camp, we cannot get into certain areas with our shoes on, because these areas are well sanitized, and it's the level of care and service that we extend is second to none. So it's a safe environment, and I would encourage a parent, with children on the spectrum, look at Beaches Resort as an option.
So what about adults? What about, my son, for example, he's 24,
Yes.
right? No longer a kid. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
Are adults with autism welcome?
Yes. Our Beaches brand, that's where the special need is at this time. And I'm thinking that in the future, they may, look at expanding it to the sandals aspect of the company. But yes, adults on the spectrum are free and welcome to our Beaches Resort, and they'll be taken care of just like the children. So yes, and we'll assign the beach buddy. Well, yes. So to answer your question, yes, adults on the spectrum are welcomed to our Beaches Resort.
So let's just talk about a few logistics things, and then we'll wrap up. So I think you said there's a call center and you worked there. So let's say like you're an autism mom or dad and you're like, this isn't looking kind of interesting. So they'll call the Beaches number, which I'm sure is
1-800 Beaches. 1-800 Beaches.
1-800.
1-800 Beaches.
Oh,
so,
yeah, 1-800 Beaches. There you are. So they call and they say, hey, I have this kid with autism. And then the call center rep will kind of walk them through, the options. You mentioned to me when I saw you last week that there is some pre-travel planning that you also help with. So like even getting them there. Can you explain what that means? So like help with the flight arrangements, help with the transportation.
Definitely. A part of our, my support that I give, I am the Senior Business Development Manager for Northern California. I work with over 1,000 travel advisors that have to be certified with Sandals and Beaches Resort every single year. So those are certified sandal specialists. So if you are looking to travel, whether it's your honeymoon, whether just a family vacation, the first thing that I would recommend that you do, you have two options. Number one, you can call the 1-800 Beaches number and speak with one of the trained representatives. So the first question you'd be posing, you'd be asking questions like, I'm looking to travel. Is this an ideal place for myself and my family? So the rep will start to walk you through all the process. That's one. You can call the Beaches Resort. They'll walk you through the process. You have a date that you're looking to travel. You have the amount of nights that you're looking to travel, the amount of family members in your party. They'll discuss the budget that you're working with. They'll any kind of special needs that is required. They will fulfill all of those options. They'll talk to you about booking your flights, adding insurance. They'll talk with you about any dietary requirements, anyone on the spectrum, any particular needs. They'll take all of those information and book you, set it all in motion and get you go. We'll do your flights as well. So it's an all-inclusive package that we offer. When we complete the process with you, there's nothing that you need to do. That's number one. The other option is to work with me that I can assign the family to one of our Sandals certified special travel advisors. So they will take all the burden and the pressure off you and make all the necessary plans. Some of the things that we'll go into. So once we've booked your room, we know the amount of people that are traveling. And there are some uniqueness in terms of what we ask. If you have a child, all depends on the nature of the, all depends on the nature, right, of their needs. We would recommend a certain section of the resort. Possible we would eliminate the high-rise section of our location. We will look at the room configuration. So that's something that we would do. In terms of airline and booking flights, we would ask you to review with the airline what their policies are in terms of with children on the spectrum. Look at the airport, all the layout of the airport, the gates, and the airline do have that kind of procedures in place. Once you arrive at our location, which is in Montego Bay, if you're going to one of the resorts in Jamaica or in Turks and Caicos, we have a Sandals and Beaches lounge. So our rep will meet the family, escort them to their shuttle that will take them to the location. Once they arrive, that's a different, situation where our staff will be there on spot based on the arrangements of the family and just to expedite the process and just to check you in. So it's just an entire, package and program that we extend to the family. But the first thing is, if you call our call center, that's one option. The next thing also is to work with a travel agent who is also able to take care of all the necessary plans for you.
So let me ask you this. So two more logistics questions. How long do families tend to stay at beaches? How long is the usual vacation?
Excellent question. When you're traveling from the West Coast, we tend to recommend an overnight flight. So you leave at either midnight through San Francisco or, Oakland or Sacramento. So you arrive in the island the following morning before midday. Most of the families and most of the couples traveling, it's always 7 nights, 8 days stay. We do see families as well that stay 14 nights, but that is pretty much, you find families staying 7 nights, 8 days at our resort.
Okay. And I'm going to ask, give me a ballpark. What kind of costs are typically involved, or give me like a range that people might expect, not including airfare, of course.
Okay. I would say if you're traveling with a family of 4, anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000, all depends on the level of room that you're booking, would cover you for the week. Now, you do have entry-level rooms, you have
and this is all inclusive.
Every single thing. There's nothing that you need to pay for as it relates to your room, your meals, your drinks, 24 hours dining options, snacks.
Right.
All room have a bar in it. And when I say bar, we're very, very careful, especially when it comes to our beaches resort, that the adults have to sign a form stating what they'd like in their bar, whether it's soda, juices, water, hard liquor, and all of that kind of thing. So that's something that we take extremely careful. So if you're looking to do additional tours and excursions, like going to the Duns River Falls or go swim with the dolphins, or doing ATVs, those comes with additional cost. If you're looking,
and the one-on-one buddies that we were talking about before,
the one-on-one buddy as well, there's an additional cost for that. But those are things outside of our normal, your dining, your water sports, entertainment. Yes. So if you're looking to put a package together, one of the things that we will ask, what budget are you working with, and the level of service that you're looking to do. Some families prefer to go with the butlers, to have their own personal butlers, and if you're going with a family of 10 or 15, the cost will increase. So all depends on how many people you're traveling with. We do see people traveling with 2 adults and a child, 2 adults and 3 kids, 2 adults and 5 kids. All depends on how you're traveling. The cost of the room may change.
Well, this is great information, and my only final comment is I can only dream about water such as those that I see in your brochures. I can only dream of that. And what's the water temperature?
The water temperature would be, I'm thinking anywhere from 70 degrees. Yeah, the water temperature.
Isn't it warm there? Isn't it like?
It is. The temperature in Jamaica pretty much is high 80s, 90s all year round. So that's what you'll see. So the water is not freezing cold, in any way. So it's pretty warm. It's pretty warm in our island. So it's something that is actually comfortable. That you will see. So anywhere like 82 degrees, that's on and around our typical water temperature.
Man, my daughter would just love that.
83 degrees.
Wow. But my daughter also likes waves. You guys don't have much of that over there.
Well, we do have waves, but what you'll also see as well, that you do have natural reefs, because we are very big on excellent beach and the sand. So when you have those high waves, it really disrupt the sand and mess things up. So what you'll see on most of our islands, you'll see natural reefs that breaks the wave or man-made reefs. So those are ideal, because beaches, resorts, our resorts are on the best set of beaches throughout the Caribbean. So that's those are some things that you will actually.
One of these days I'll have to go. I'll have to break my Hawaii cycle and head the other direction. It does sound amazing. And I have one of those autistic kids, like I'm sure a lot of our listeners, who's a total water person, like just water, water, water all the time. And that's her ideal vacation is plop her in the water for 8 hours a day, whether it's a pool, whether it's an ocean, water all the time, water parks, you name it. So it's like, I think a lot of autism families are in kind of that same boat, so to speak, that they're always looking for some water destination. And, I just think that it would be heaven, for her.
Or beaches resort, or resorts are an option for families with children on the spectrum.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool. I can't think of anything comparable to it around where I live, or kind of Hawaii side. And I just think I commend you guys for even having the program. And the thought that's gone into it. I'm definitely going to put it on my things to think about. So Lara, pop back on and we're going to wrap this up. There she is, back from Oahu. Just kidding. So Lara, just signing off, I want to know if you have any final thoughts for our autism families who are listening. Any other bits of advice or encouragement?
I think that a couple of quick things, just that, your family does deserve a break, and it can take some work to figure out what that break looks and feels like. Like I said, we tried every beach town on the entire coast of California. One of them, we rented a home and the entire living room had like this 400 shell display. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're going to yeah. Yeah, I know. We just want this is why we chose to purchase a home to share. We don't have 400, we don't have a single shell in our house, because it's yeah. Anyway, so there's things like that where once you find something, you absolutely deserve that as a family. And so I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle, is just finding that fit and realizing that you deserve it. And I think for those with maybe younger children, or those who have a lot of services and programs and things like that, it can feel like, oh my gosh, we can't possibly stop any of that and take time off. And so I just want to encourage families to do that as well. That it can, I think, especially if you have an individual with severe autism, it feels like I can't even spare a minute away from therapy. I can't cancel that. I can't skip it. And I just encourage you to come up for air and really take some time. Maybe it's just a long weekend. It doesn't have to be an enormous amount of time, but take some time, because I think that that's a trap that's easy to fall into, of we just have to do therapy all the time. And
I want to speak to that just for a second. And this is definitely not true as to my son, but as to my daughter, her periods of biggest growth, in my opinion, have happened during travel. I'm not during therapy, not during ABA, not during school. I mean, I hate to say that, but the things that absolutely blew our mind and shocked us, and where we saw her making real strides, were on vacations. And not true with everyone, not true with my son, but I just want to say, I agree with you. Think bigger here.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of a reorganization almost that happens. It's like, oh my gosh, we've been just putting all this input in. And then when you take the individual out of that routine of therapy and everything, it kind of can almost sink in and sort of reorganize the brain a little bit. And I think I also have a water kid. So that amount of input, that sensory input from that much water, sand, all of that, I think also can just be its own sort of therapy.
Very good point. All right, Pernell, any last comments, points of inspiration to wrap up?
Definitely. The Beaches brand is a brand that can be trusted. You know, as I made mention that all of our staff, they are trained in terms of sensory awareness, motor skills, autism overview, the program development, social skills, communication, the entire line of environmental awareness, emotional awareness. All of those are things that you know, we continue to do. We've also taken it to the next level where this year, for the first time, we've implemented an Autism Week at our Beaches resort.
What? Autism Week?
Autism Week.
When is Autism Week?
October 9th to the 13th at Beaches.
2023.
2023 at Beaches Ocherius. And that's something that we continue to be the trendsetter.
So at that one in Jamaica, Beaches.
The one, Ocherius.
Ocherius.
That is correct.
Wow.
You know, so we continue to really set the standard when it comes to our resort being an autism certified center. We continue to really set the standard. So we're trusted, and you know, I'm hoping that for those parents who are on, who have a desire or any interest, they can either reach and get back to you, or they can get back to me, and we'll just start to plan and to look at things. You know, we have a dedicated toll-free line for special services. We offer pre-travel.
Let's put that stuff in the show notes. So I'll make sure to connect with you to get the list of all those things for people to connect to. But for now, we are going to have to wrap up, because speaking of kiddo, I have to get my kiddo out of here. So thank you, Pernell. Thank you, Lara. This was so much fun to think about these things, even to sort of mentally voyage.
Yeah.
To go on a mini vacation.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, you guys. And actually stay on, because I'm going to take a picture of you guys. I'm going to stop recording though. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.